Okay, today I'm going to do something kind of fun, a little bit different from what I've done on the channel before, but I'm going to modify my new Glock 45. Now I'll show you it's clear. The Glock 45, this is essentially a Glock 17 size grip. So this is like the 19X, but it's black and it's optic cut. So this is a full-size Glock grip with the Glock 19 slide. So it's a big grip, short slide. The Glock 19, which I've had those as well, is a little bit small for my hand, and I really, really like the grip of the 17, but I like the concealment and ability of the Glock 19 slide. So the Glock 45 is the perfect fit for me for what my purpose is for this gun. But I wanted to add a couple cool things to it and make some modifications. So we're gonna show you some of the things I'm gonna do today. So the first thing you can tell I've already done, I've got the Hollow Sun. So this is the Hollow Sun MOS. So this is the sorry about that. This is the MOS model. This mounts direct to any MOS cut slide that Glock has, so there's no plate or anything like that. Direct mount makes it a very, very low optic, and this one happens to be green. I don't have a strong preference, red or green. This one happens to be the green. But you can see the window is small. It's a small optic. It's very natural for my eye. I wondered how I shoot competition optics a lot. So, but this small one, it comes right up. I'm so used to the Glock sights and things that the dot appears right away for me, which is nice. And it's small enough that I can still carry it concealed. So, I really like the optics so far. So that's the first modification I made. It's a very simple modification. Remove the plate, 2 screws in the top with some Loctite, put it in place, blue Loctite. But I got it in place there, and it's a nice firm mount. So that part's done. The next things that I'm going to do, I've been excited to try the new TriggerTech trigger. I've had this one for a couple weeks now. I put it temporarily in another gun just to kind of see how it felt, mess with the adjustments and things. I really, really like it. So I'm gonna put it on my carry gun. This new trigger from TriggerTech has the ability to adjust the trigger pull weight. So I can make this a carryable trigger, or I could dial this all the way down to a 2.5 pound. So it goes, you can see here, it's a 2.5 pound to 6 pound trigger adjustment. Just in a little bit in how you adjust the springs. So there's some springs you can change out, a plunger spring, some other things like that. But there's also a dial that you can literally adjust very on the fly exactly what you want that trigger weight to be, which is really nice. So I'm excited to get that trigger in here. The brake on these I'll show you in a little bit. That'll be the first thing we do, and I'll show you the brake and everything when we do that. Once that's done, I also want to add, you can see here I've got the Radian Afterburner and Ramjet. That will go on this gun. It makes it a really tight, nice fit in front of the gun. It doesn't add very much length to the gun at all. But it makes it a much more pleasurable gun to shoot. One of the problems with a concealed carry gun is they're a small gun like that is just, it's not fun to go shooting, so you tend not to practice with it, right? And I found that I do that. I've had like Hellcat Pro, and I've had Glock 19s, and I'll go out shooting and I'll shoot all my other guns, and I won't practice shooting the gun that I carry every single day. And that's a challenge, right? You want to make sure you're practicing with what you're carrying. And because I just don't get the pleasure out of shooting it, it's not as fun to do that. I tend to not shoot that gun. But these Radian Afterburners are supposed to have a dramatic impact on felt recoil, and everything I've read tells me that this gun is going to shoot much flatter, be much less recoil, and will feel like I'm shooting a far larger, heavier gun. So I'm excited to do that. So we'll add that as well. Other adjustments I'm going to make. You can see with my grip on this gun, you can see I've got very large hands. They swallow this entire grip, and you can see that when I wrap my fingers around into my shooting position, I consume almost the entire grip side of this. So when my support hand comes in, I don't have much purchase. So I'm going to put the larger grip back, the back strap on this gun. The other thing that happens is the meat of my hand tends to come up a little bit when I get a full grip there. And the other back straps have a longer beaver tail here that'll prevent that from happening. So it's just a better fit for my hand. So I'll put the larger back strap on. That will help a little as well. And then I'm going to finish that off with some Dremel work. Another spot that Glocks tends to bother me is this edge right here. It's not sharp, but it is not rounded either. So I like to do an undercut in here. So I'll take some Dremel and I'll do a nice undercut so I can get this hand up just a little higher. So I'll do a nice round undercut there to keep that knuckle from digging in. You can see where that tends to dig in on me right there. And I'll walk away and just feel a bruise for a couple days if I've shot this thing very much, or any Glock that is. So I'll round this off and give myself a little bit there. And then I like a double undercut. So I'm going to go ahead and make room for my hand here. So I'm going to Dremel out and thin this up here in sort of an arch. I'll have a little platform here, something behind my finger there. So when my finger sits here, it'll just give it a little bit more of a place like it belongs. So I'll undercut that as well. Additionally, something that I like to do to a Glock is I'm going to make a small thumb shelf right here. It doesn't, under recoil, it's not like my thumb actually is able to really have any further grip on the gun by putting a shelf in here, but it gives me more of an index point. And I like the feel of being able to get my hand down on something like that. So I'll angle this in and build a little shelf right here that my thumb will naturally sit on. And that's typically the work that I do to a Glock. So I'll do all that as well, and then we will look at the final product. So let's get started with the trigger. I know YouTube has issues with like the full disassembly of guns and putting things together. So let's look at trigger pull and some of those things. Let me clear out my workspace here a little bit, and we'll work on the trigger. I'll time things and tell you how long it takes me to do things. I'm not the fastest guy in the world at this stuff, but it's not super difficult to do. So let me clear the workspace here a little bit, and then I'll talk through what I'm doing, and I'll probably do some of it off camera. So the first thing you have to do in the Glock, you have to make sure you're clear, okay? And then you know how to, if not, no big deal, but you should know how to clear your gun and make sure you're going to disassemble it. So just for field stripping, okay, you dry fire, okay, and then you pull these down, pull this back, and then you'll be free to pull it out. Now, again, I don't know what I think the YouTube rules are. You're not supposed to disassemble a gun. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera. Okay, back here. So it's obviously very, very quick that it comes apart. Okay, now I'm dealing with just this portion here. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and punch this through right here. This bar goes across. It holds in this metal piece here. Okay, it holds in the trigger itself, and it holds in your slide release. Okay, that goes through all three of those pieces. This pin here goes across. It will hold the new back strap in place. It also holds this trigger housing back here for the actual action. It holds it across as well. I'm thinking that I will probably get away with this piece being on camera, so I'm not going to stress too much about that. I'm going to show you kind of how to punch those things out. So on this one, I like to go from this side, use just a kind of a soft hammer. That goes right through, okay? Pin pulls right out, sets off in a safe spot. Okay, now I'm able to disassemble the rest of the gun. This just props up. Okay, once I have that out, that's there. The slide stop comes right out, okay? Then on the back of the gun here, again, this just pushes through. I need a smaller punch. Go here. Okay, that just punches straight through. Again, goes to a safe spot. And now this entire piece comes right out of there, okay? So that's the full disassembly there. The TriggerTech trigger goes in pretty much the same way that one just came out. So a very straightforward thing. I'm not going to talk much about the springs and things like that because it's self-explanatory in the TriggerTech kit what you use, but you can see this just fits right in the same spot, right? This is going to go into in the same spot. And then there is one other thing. Let me show you this. On the back of the slide here, this cover needs to come off. In order to get that off, you have to go right into this spot, put it onto the plastic there and push down, and that slides right out of there, okay? You just hold your thumb over that so springs don't go anywhere. And this piece replaces it. You can see this has a funny arm on it, but to put these in place, it's very straightforward. You just hold this piece down while putting some upward pressure on it. Whoops, get my fingers on it there. It goes in place for that one. Same kind of thing here, just upward pressure, and it's on, okay? On a Gen 5, like this one is, there is a plastic piece that you'll have to cut off of there in order for that new piece to fit in that I just put on the back of the slide. But what TriggerTech has done is redesigned how a trigger functions in a Glock. And from my first experiences with it, it seems fantastic. So I'm going to assemble this real quick and I will be right back with a new trigger installed. Okay, so I've got it back this far. That took about 1 minute. And then what I want to point out here is when you are doing this, you'll see the pin looks like it's in over here, but see how it's a little bit, I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little bit extra recessed over here. That hasn't actually locked in place yet. So when you see that they're not exactly the same on the other side, you don't want to hammer anymore on it. You just want to get a punch or something and just put some pressure kind of sideways on it and hear that click. If you saw that or can see that, but now they're equal on each side and that's not going anywhere. Okay. So trigger is in place. It's all in there. What I've got to do is get this pin in, but we talked about me putting that back strap on. So this is the large back strap. This is the largest one that they make. This one fits on there. Let's get that snapped in place. There we go. Okay. So now you can see that covers my hand a little bit more, keeps my hand a little further out of the way. Okay. That beaver tail's a little bigger. And now this pin will go all the way across here and we'll hold that in place. And again, it doesn't take much pressure. It just goes in and you want to get it to where they're about equal on each side and there's no rubbing or anything there. Okay, that is the trigger assembled. I didn't take a weight. You can Google it, okay? I was gonna take the trigger weight on the stock trigger, but a stock Glock trigger runs at about 5.5 pounds. Okay, so about 5.5 pounds is the typical trigger weight. I have this one set to be right about the middle. Okay, all I have to do now that this is back together, all I have to do is put this slide on. So I'm gonna do that. Real quickly. Okay, there we are. All right, back together. And now here's what I want to show you. I probably have another stock trigger that I can show you the comparison on. You can see the take up on this TriggerTech trigger. It just goes to, there's the wall right there. And then it breaks. Like there is no play. There is no give. It's like a canic trigger. if you know what I'm talking about, that's what it feels like. It feels like a canic trigger. It's just a super great wall, great reset. It's a fantastic trigger. Now this one is currently, I've got my trusty old school Wheeler trigger here. Let's see, 3.5 pounds. Okay, let's do that again just to verify. Yeah, just over 3 pounds. So 3 1/4, 3.5 pounds is where that trigger is set right now. It's fantastic. Now, let's say I want to make an adjustment to that. I'd like that to be different. I'm going to disassemble the gun again. Trigger's pulled back. Off camera here so I don't get in YouTube trouble. Be new channel and get in YouTube jail. That would suck. Okay, now on this trigger, you can see right here, there's this little adjustment. I don't know if we can see that. Let me make sure. getting you good. There's a little adjustment that happens right here. It's just a little Allen wrench, and you adjust it. You can see, turn it up. So clockwise for increasing the pull, counterclockwise decreases the pull. All right, 1 second. Okay, I just maxed it out. I turned it all the way as far as it would go without forcing it, as far as it would go, and bottomed it out on the pull the weight, the highest pull weight possible. Okay, and now let's check that weight here. Okay, so that broke at about 4.5, 5 pounds, about 5 pounds. I have all the lightest springs that the kit comes with here. Let me do that again. They're right at 5 pounds. Do that again. One more. Yeah, 5 pounds. So I've got that at 5 pounds. That's a very, man, it's a nice 5 pounds though. Again, reset, straight to the wall. 5 pounds. Okay, I'm going to go the other direction. Okay, and I'm going to just spin this the other way. Goes in there like that. Take that off camera just in case. I'm going to go ahead and bottom it out the other direction. Probably topping it out, I would guess. Okay, it takes about 8 turns, something like that. Now that's as far the other direction as it will go. Spring back where it belongs. Okay, back to here. Wow, that is incredible. All right. Okay, there we are. 2 pounds. Let's do it again. Yeah, just over 2 pounds. Let's see if I can get that to focus in for you. Crazy. So that's a little light to carry, right? I'm not going to put that and carry it like that. But man, what an incredible pull. Okay, so let's get that back to where I'm comfortable being with for a carry weight, and I'll be right back with you. Okay, now I've got this right now about 4 pounds. I'm comfortable with that. I'm very confident that I'm safe with that, and I've got no problem carrying it with that trigger weight. So I'm good there. Now, you can also see, let's talk about this grip as we put this back on here. You can see now I've got a lot more real estate here to get my support hand up in there onto the gun. So I really prefer a larger grip just with my huge hands. So that allows me to get some of the meat of my hand at least connecting here. I am also a big fan of handle it grips, so I'm going to put some sandpaper grips on here eventually. I really like those, and so I'll get a little extra gripping in there, and I'll show you some of the other guns I have that on at a later time. But handle it grips, Talon grips, they all make good product. I'm a handle it grips fan. I've just been using their stuff for a long time, so I'll get some of those on there, and that'll kind of round out what I want to change on the grip from the stickiness standpoint. Now that that's all done, let's put the Radian on here, and we'll go from there. So again, for that I have to remove the slide. Okay, slides out here. Just remove the barrel for cleaning. Okay, barrel comes out, and the Radian comes with a new barrel. New barrel goes in. Whoops, there we go. Put it in right, Holman. All right, new fits on there just like that, and then able to put the new screw in. Okay. Okay, that's in place now. It uses exactly the same spring. So factory spring fits fine. Okay, and now Afterburner, Radian Ramjet installed. Really clean look. Does not add very much, maybe a ½ inch to the length. So it's still shorter than a Glock 17, but it's about a halfway between a Glock 19 and a Glock 17 length, and should have a dramatic impact on felt recoil for this gun. Okay, those are the modifications that I'm making without having to get my Dremel out. So I think I'll make another video. On the next video, I'll go through and do the Dremel work on this and get this rounded out, do the double undercut, and then I'll do the work on the thumb shelf there as well. But there you are. There's some modifications on the Glock 45, adding the Afterburner and Radian Ramjet, and obviously the hollow sun. I showed you what we do there. Increasing the grip size by adding the back strap there, and then that's the install of the TriggerTech trigger. This is called the TriggerTech Ace trigger system, and it is man, I have been a Timney trigger fan for a long time, but this TriggerTech Ace, it seems like, and reading everything I've read the reviews, I've seen other people's videos and things. I've messed with it now a little bit on a previous gun and have it here, and I am thrilled with the performance of this trigger so far. I'm a big fan. So this is, I think, going to be my new favorite Glock trigger. I love the adjustability. I love the way it breaks and that wall. Even a Timney trigger. Let me... I have a gun with a Timney trigger. Hold on one second. Grab something here. Okay. Here is, again, this is a Faxon. This is basically a Glock Gen 3 clone, okay? And you can see this is Glock 19 length with a more standard. It's a little loose. I need to get that tightened up. But this is another compensator that's on there. Okay. But what I want to show you here is the trigger. Okay. Little take up, and then this trigger, you can see it just creep a little, and then it breaks. Again, Timneys are fantastic Glock triggers. Absolutely amazing. Terran Tactical uses these on all their John Wick Glocks and all their Combat Master Glocks and things. And I've got one of those. It's an even lighter pull than this. You can just see a little creep though. See there, creep, pull, creep, pull. Just a little bit, where this TriggerTech, zero creep, just a wall and a clean break. And so just apples to apples out of the box, the TriggerTech trigger is, in my opinion, superior to the Timney trigger drop-in kit that I've used previously. I'm really impressed with that trigger. So happy. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.